So calling to order the Public Safety Emergency Management Committee meeting for October 3rd, 2024. And one council member is not in attendance tonight. I'm not sure if we excuse. I've moved to excuse.
Second.
Yeah. And that's all in favor, so good. Council member excused. Approval for the September meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
She could just call.
She did. Does she want to attend by phone? I know she was planning on attending the study session, so, all right. If she calls again and she wants to join.
You want me to call it back?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. In the meantime, well, let's just wait for a second.
Check my phone and see.
Yeah, I left my phone up there.
I don't know, you know?
New magnetic fire extinguishers that you put in your living unit. And when the flame picks up, the screws goes and they pop. And all the fire goes right on your surface. You don't have a hood? Three and hoods. Oh.
She's on the phone? Okay. Councilmember Grace Matsui, sorry about that. We assumed that you would be on phone for the study session, but thank you for joining us for the committee meeting.
Yes, thank you.
So, Councilmember Grace Matsui is in attendance, so all council members are here. So the first item on the agenda is approval of the September meeting minutes. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, do I have a second? Councilmember Grace Matsui, do you have a second?
Sure, yes.
Second motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Say aye.
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 Great. Passed. Okay. Item number 2 is the Great Shakeout. And Shannon, is that you?
That's me.
All right. Go. You got it.
All right, so exciting news. I think this is the 4th year that the city of Des Moines has participated in the Great Washington Shakeout. So the idea here is everyone, everywhere should know how to protect themselves during an earthquake. No matter where you live, work, or travel, earthquakes are common all around the world. So this is our annual opportunity to learn and practice safety with millions of other people around the world. So nearly 900,000 people participated in Washington State last year. So that was a great year. We're hoping to exceed 1 million this year. So if you're planning on participating, please register so that they can count those numbers and get those reported up to FEMA. So each year, participants in schools, businesses, nonprofits, government agencies, neighborhoods, all types of organizations practice the Great Shakeout. This year it's October 17th. And the date is always the time, so it'll be at 10:17 in the morning. And then everybody should drop, cover, hold on for at least 1 minute, and then practice your evacuation plans. So evacuate whatever building or home or business that you are at. So the goal is to encourage people and organizations to be prepared to survive so that we can recover quickly. The shakeout started in Southern California back in 2008, and it has taken place and taken hold all around the world. More than 30 million people worldwide participated in 2021. So it is free to participate. We encourage everybody to register online. These are a few pictures from the years that we have had the shakeout here in Des Moines. All departments will be participating, ducking, covering, taking videos and pictures and sharing them with us. And then our safety committee runs the radios and makes sure that everybody is present and accounted for. Then we go back to work. It takes about 5-7 minutes.
Fun.
Yeah, it's great, and it checks 2 boxes for us for evacuation and also earthquake. So,
Great.
yeah. Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I do have a question. It's not directly related to that, but it's more about having a plan. So do you know when your next education session for the community would be for?
Get Ready King County. I just did Mariner Manor. They had over 21 people. And that seems to be what works the best. When I set up the meetings for the public, the attendance dropped off pretty significantly after the 4th class. So I'm working with homeowner associations, apartment complexes, different housing communities, like Judson Park. I think I've done 7 so far. So yeah, just reach out, shoot me an email at skirchberg@desmoineswa.gov or give me a call and I will set it up and come and talk to you and your neighborhood or apartment complex.
Awesome.
And if you don't have space, we can always do it here at City Hall.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Shannon. So next we have our Chief Ted Bowe giving us an overview of the department and the command team.
Perfect. Thank you. And thanks for having me tonight. One of the things we've been working on is one of my first things is getting the command team in place so that we have all the right people in the right seats to run your police department. We have 2 major retirements. One happened right before I got here. Assistant Chief of Operations retired. And then your acting chief / administrative services chief, Mark Cooey, will be retiring here next week. So with those 2 retirement coming, we have kind of restructured our command team. Wanted to make sure you all knew what the command team looked like here in the city and who you're contacting, who's at the other end of the phone or the other end of the email, or who's showing up in that command role. So I brought everybody here with me. Obviously, I'm Ted. You guys had the chance to meet me. I'm your police chief. Kevin Penny has been promoted to assistant chief and will be taking over patrol operations. So all of the 24/7 operations of the department is Kevin Penny. Kevin's been with the city for 27 years? 25 years. So he is the knowledge of all things history of the city, the police department, how things are the way they are, why they're the way they are, and that history. He brings that, which is an amazing asset when you're looking at coming in from the outside, is to understand why do we do things the way we do it. So it gives us a good grounding, and that he brings that to us. From the outside, I brought in the other assistant chief who started about a week and a half ago, and that's Corey Stanton. He comes to us from the King County Sheriff's Office after just about 20 years of service there. And he'll be taking over the administrative side of the police department. So records, investigations, special operations, the things that are the administrative component of the department will be Corey Stanton.
Both of you. Thank you.
So one of the other things I always like to acknowledge when we talk about law enforcement leadership is often we look at people wearing uniforms and we forget that we're probably about 50% of what it takes to make a police department function. So as we look at our command team, we also look at who are the other managers in our world that make our system work. So also present with us today is Stephanie Holt, who is literally every single thing that gets done goes through her in the police side. She manages the office, she manages all the stuff, she manages calendars and schedules, and really takes care of everything we need done on the internal. So without a doubt, when you look at your command team, without her in the management role of that office, we wouldn't function, quite frankly. So Stephanie is here today. And then as most people know, particularly anybody who does public records work, we produce a ridiculous amount of records and paper and documents. That's what law enforcement does. And somebody has to manage the team that keeps track of all of the stuff we create, all those documents and records. And Michelle O'Hearn is here, and she is the supervisor who manages all of our records and our record keeping and our data within the department. So I just like to showcase so you guys kind of know what your command team looks like. I am super blessed to have an amazing command team that really is set to make your department function for years to come in a really high caliber way. So I'm excited to have them here and excited just to showcase who is on your team and introduce them.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had the clicker there. That was my fault.
Told you to drive.
All right. So one of the things I've heard as I've met with most of the council members here one-on-one is this consistent theme around how to get information and different ways to communicate information to the community as well as to council, and give you guys snapshots of different data and information that you find useful. So I'm looking at a couple different templates I want to show you tonight of things that we're going to implement that might help with just some of that summary information and making sure you have it as well as the community. So the first thing I have is on our website, we actually every week produce a giant PDF document that's every single call we went to in the last week. And my guess is not a single person has looked at that gigantic document of hundreds and hundreds of calls, because it's in a format that's not usable. So what we've started with is just taking that call record and just putting it in some sort of a usable format so we can put it out every week on social media. So what we've kind of come up with is this template that just says, we responded to 380 calls for service last week, and here's some of the highlights of those calls of service, some of the types of calls we responded to. This is not all-inclusive, and this is what we would call kind of an auto pull. Once we set it up, we can pull these records relatively easy. They don't take a ton of analysis to give you this level of records, and it's easy to produce every week. So when people say, what did you do last week? We can say, well, we went to 380 calls for service, which is an astronomical amount of calls for service for an agency our size. So I think that's just a good snapshot for our community to understand what the quantity of work that the 911 system really pushes onto our department and our officers. And again, I think I said this already, but this isn't just an informative tool. It's not an analytical tool. So this is not diving in and validating all these records. This is not going in and doing like a NIBRS compliance. This is just a quick snapshot of the data that's coming in every week so people can kind of have a general understanding. So kind of the next level or the next tool that we're looking at is, what does the council want to see? What is the information? I'll just give it to you in a format that's not microfiche there.
So Yoshiko, we can get these sent to you, okay?
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
So the next thing is, in talking with the council members, y'all have kind of expressed this idea that you want to have some sort of a report out that's meaningful data that you can capture on more of that monthly basis. This is what happens when you take raw data and you hand it over to an analyst who can make sense of it. So this is that next level of processing data. So what you'll see here is we put everything into a standardized system called NIBRS. So all of our data and all of our reports are on the nationally standardized way of reporting. And under NIBRS, we report crimes against property, crimes against society, and crimes against people. So that's kind of how we break down our crime categories. And you'll see that information's captured here. We also capture things on here like, what did we do? We did Flock. Flock was a big implementation that we've been working on. And how does the Flock technology help us identify crimes occurring within our community? And then down at the bottom, there was a request that we find a way to make data more meaningful to localized communities. So what we did was we broke the city up into the neighborhoods that we kind of identify as clearly structured neighborhoods, and then did a neighborhood by neighborhood analysis of what's going on in your exact community. So that's that analytical tool of pulling all this raw data out and trying to make a sense or a usable product out of the data. And this is something we debated. Do we do this every quarter? Do we do it every month, every bi-monthly? But we'll report it out through this venue, through the Public Safety Emergency Management meeting. And then we'll also get it posted on the website, so it's available to our community in the after we discuss it here. One of the big questions I had here was two things. One is, I will be honest that I do believe in some avenue, what we start counting is what people start doing. So as we focus on what we're going to put on this report, that will help drive some of the police department's activity levels to try to focus on what we know we're looking at as a council and as a community. And then the follow-up question to that is, are there things on here that you think we should be capturing and reporting in this format that would be beneficial to the council? And that's maybe a bigger discussion than I'm going to throw at you cold right now today, and more something to think on. But it is something that we can look at and say, these are things that are really important to us collectively. Let's start counting and reporting out on those, because we want to tell our community about something that's important to us as a community and as a council. So I view this not only as a reporting tool, but also somewhat as a management tool to help guide mutually agreed upon goals for the council and the police department. So with that, I think that is my last slide. That is my last slide, and I'm available for any questions you have.
So I'll start with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, looking at the bottom
reporting out of the types of calls. I mean, I think I have a decent sense of what immediate risk to life or property, but no immediate risk and non-life threatening minimal risk. Can you at least flush those out a little bit here, and maybe make it more meaningful for somebody outside to look at that? Are there better ways to label those categories by what you mean?
So in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think I get a poll the audience, a question or flag here, and I'm gonna pull that for Patty right now. Do you mind stepping up here just to cover this? So Patty obviously is our crime analyst here in the city. She's the one that does a lot of the work of analyzing this data. So really the question was, can you define the types of call categories on the neighborhood? And what that, more of a layman's term of what does it mean to be in one of those 4 categories?
Up there because I didn't bring my glasses tonight, but these are basically the priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is the standard for the NIBRS records. Okay. And I used their definition and tried to kind of bring it more relevant for the space that I had. But so, like the first one would be our priority 1, immediate life at risk. Somebody's in danger of losing their life. Property damage is imminent. Fire, building collapse, something like that. Something major emergency. Not life-threatening might be a person who is calling in and saying that it could be suspicious with a weapon. They don't really have an absolute, but there is a crime involved that we need to get to and look at very quickly. Whereas number 3 being no life-threatening, that can be as much as like just a suspicious vehicle driving through a parking lot. It's not going to be something where life and limb is immediate danger, but something we probably need to look at to make sure that something's not becoming more than what it is. And the second or the fourth one is generally it's after the fact. It's I came home from vacation for 2 weeks, and sometime in that 2 weeks my car was stolen. It's not something that we have effective immediately, but it's something that still needs to be taken care of.
Let me ask you, just because it's not clear to me, where's the fist fight? There's a
fight?
fist fight going on. What category is this in?
That would be a better question for Valleycom, but I would say probably priority 2.
No immediate risk.
That's what I'm trying to get at
Yeah.
here is I think if you could,
Like,
you
try
don't
to
have
say-
room on this maybe to put in that kind of defining term, but making that available, if somebody wants to look these up, if you could have that on a website or something like that, so there's an explanation, that could be really helpful for people trying to understand what this data means.
And I'm wondering if that wouldn't be helpful to either QR it to have a definitions page on the website where we're going to deposit these with a QR that just directs you to the website. Might be the easiest way to do that, and we could probably build a QR in here somewhere with, that will take you to a definitions page. That would be easy enough to do.
Yeah, that's the one thing that just jumped out at me as I'm looking at this, is like, okay, I'm not quite sure what fits where, so.
It's helpful. We speak in police terms, so for us, like priority X 1, 2, 3 is completely normal speak, but we don't sometimes realize that's super helpful information. Thank you.
Yeah, I used to. But I've reformed, So.
One of the biggest things that when I worked for the MMIW is that was a lot of what the families complained about is cop language versus community language, and defining that and trying to translate that. So we could do that better.
So Councilmember Grace Matsui, what was presented to us during this talk was a one-pager with very attractive graphics boxes, and a couple of photos that digest data down to boxes of what kind of crimes were committed, what kind of calls were received, what kind of services were provided. It's very, it's eye-catching. So that's what they're considering delivering to us, once a month? Putting it out putting out social media once a month? Is that what you're?
I said once a month, and she said once a quarter, so we're negotiating. I would think every other month is probably where we're going to land, but.
It's a little labor intensive, but yeah.
So when you get this,
Mayor Buxton?
yes.
I want to say thanks to Sarah Lee for sending me a copy of the slide deck, so I can see it. Oh, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
I just got it a that it was very well received. I did want to ask if you had considered a different format in addition to social media, which I assume mostly is some Facebook. I believe the police department also has an Instagram, but there are so many of our residents who don't use Facebook that I'm looking for ways to make sure that it's as widely disseminated as possible. And one of the things that I think may be helpful, and I don't know if we have the capability of doing it, is using some sort of email subscription list. Because many people have different kinds of social media, but at least they'd all have an email address.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. We've talked a little bit about doing some sort of an email, a chief's email where I can send out communication regularly. And this would fit into that world of regularly communicating out. We also can communicate out through like our Block Watch captains and the various community groups we're affiliated with, both on our level as well as on council members level, that we have a pretty broad net if we start communicating with the people in our network. So by providing it to this group, it also allows us to get a little bit of synergy by reporting it out to those on our group. So thank you.
Just making sure she's done.
Yeah.
Did you have another comment or question, Councilmember?
No, that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and just to kind of interject, it just thought of it in terms of dissemination. Can we get Spanish language and maybe some other language, some translation service or something? I know if it's on a website, you can get those pretty cheaply if this is in text, not graphic. But it's worth looking into to see if there's a way that we can make sure it's available for people whose native language isn't English. You know, we have a significant community in this town, and we want to make sure they're included.
Yeah, we were looking the other day. It looks like about 17% of our community is Spanish speaking. So it's absolutely, and they aren't obviously the only language, but the most prevalent. Ultimately, we should work on different ways to get stuff translated. I think that's a discussion on the communication side as a city. How are we investing in accessibility? And I think that's a broader discussion than just this forum, but I agree with you that we should make sure that all of our materials are accessible.
Okay.
I do know, just double checking, if it's on our website in a certain, pardon? Oh, thank you. If it's on our website in a certain form, I don't know what format, but there's a select language option at the top right-hand corner in our website with several languages available. So if it gets posted into the website, here again, I don't know if they probably can't translate a PDF. So if this gets posted to the website in a PDF, it wouldn't be able to, but if it is some kind of text form. So, which is nice. We do have that already. I also appreciate this so much, just the availability of information out in the community makes a big difference to our community to be able to put something out on social media. And if we can do a subscription, there would be a lot of people that would use that not only for police information, but for lots of different kinds of information to be able to contact people who subscribe. So I think that's at the top of the list on website work. So thank you. This is great.
Yeah, this is very good.
Yeah, nicely done. Anything else from police?
Nothing else from me before I turn it over to my partner at SCORE.
All right, so we move to the next, thank you, Chief. Next up is Devin from the SCORE Jail, and she's got an operations overview to present to us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I think the last time I was here was 2022, so I'll have just a little mix of old and new information for you. Again, I'm Devin Trum. I'm the Executive Director for SCORE, and I've been the Executive Director since late 2018. Just real briefly, SCORE was opened in 2011. It is a state-of-the-art design. You have 29 medical beds. That was a thoughtful space built into SCORE. We have dedicated program video court space, and we're a direct supervision jail, which means our officers are in the pods with the population. And then I'm pleased that several of your council member, as well as council members of other owner cities, came and visited us over the last couple months, and I extend that invitation again for any other council members who would like to come see us.
Great, thank you.
The value of ownership. So your city was always our host city. That's where we're operated. But in 2019, the city of Des Moines became an owner city. So the value of ownership is here. You get to shape our culture, our professionalism, set our standards, and our bar is really high. So we take a lot of pride in offering a safe and secure jail with a respectful, service-oriented culture. The benefits for you as an owner city, of course, that is shared with 5 other cities, is pooled costs, reduced rates, and we're doing well so that we've lowered owner city rates considerably over the last few years. It used to be that owners paid significantly more than those who contracted to house folks there, and that's no longer the case. That is, it's actually flipped just a little bit, which is great. What I'm going to talk to you about today in consideration of this meeting is our safety elements and several of the current projects that we have centered on safety. But for every project that we do at SCORE, every initiative that we take on, we make sure that it's tied to our mission and vision. And so on the slide, you can see that our mission is to provide the highest quality public safety services to those we serve. And our vision is dedicated to creating an environment of public trust and excellence through all layers of services, enhancing the field of corrections with integrity, innovation, and commitment. And we take that to heart and make sure that everything that we're taking on, we're always making sure are tied back to the mission and vision. And what's important to note about this mission and vision is that it was created by the employees at SCORE in 2021. So the 2011 vision and mission was great. There was nothing wrong with it. We had just achieved it. And so the best part about what we're currently operating under is that our employees, we pulled all of our employees and made sure that they were shaping our current vision and mission. So our pillars of safety. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our employees. I'm going to talk to you about quality health care that we have here at SCORE and the significant investment that we put into that, as well as our reentry or release services. Before I do that, I want you to know that SCORE continues to increase its average daily population. It is a slow and steady increase. So in 2023, we had an ADP of 476.93, and in July of this year, it's moved up to 488.1. That's our average daily population. In the jail on any given day, we can have over 500 individuals. And in last year alone, we booked and released more than 15,000 individuals. So there's a lot of churn there, and our staff have to stay on top of that. So our SCORE employees are absolutely our greatest asset. Our custody staff are certified corrections officers trained through the Criminal Justice Training Commission. SCORE operates and is accredited by the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. That's more than 170 professional standards that we go through the process of proving every 4 years that we are compliant with or exceeding. And we take that work very seriously, and we have just achieved our 3rd round of WASPIC accreditation this year. So was it this year? Late last year. We're super proud of that. We also became PREA certified. PREA is the Prison Rape Elimination Act, and I think every jail strives to operate under a level of safety when it comes to prison rape standards, but not every jail, and in fact very few jails in Washington State can actually be certified or pass the very rigorous certification process for that. So this is the 2nd time that SCORE has achieved that certification, and we were praised for actually exceeding some of those standards and mentioned in some national presentations. So great work, and that is work that the staff will tell you is complicated, but important. But I also, just like Chief Bowe, want to recognize that it's not just the corrections officers that run our jail. Much like a small city, we have to have supportive teams, and we have incredibly supportive teams. Our human resources department is a very small department, it's just 3 people, and yet they've hired more than 70 people over the last 3 years. Our officers go through a rigorous background check. They're coordinating all of that. They're at recruitment events. And I cannot say enough good things about our HR department. And this is at a time where jails and police departments are struggling in Washington State and nationally to recruit and hire police officers or corrections officers. SCORE has never had that problem. We are definitely an employer of choice when it comes to custody operations. And then our finance department, again, this is SCORE operates with a multi-million-dollar budget and a very small team. They work very lean, but they make sure the bills get paid and the checks get signed. So we couldn't do it without them. Facilities, we're a new building, but we have 16 HVAC units, which is great, and it was perfect for COVID. But that is a lot to make sure that we're always operating at the highest caliber, and they're working very hard to protect your investment in the building and to make sure that we are doing a lot of preventative maintenance, and we just completed a 30-year cost projection, equipment cost projection, and so that we're always making sure that we're tending to the things that need to be tended so we don't become a problem for you financially later on. And then lastly, information technology. SCORE is a very tech-savvy jail. We have video surveillance throughout the entire jail, completely unheard of in its time. Jails are catching up to that now, and we have a lot of automated systems, and we're a data-rich system, and all of that takes infrastructure. We only have 3 IT staff for a 24/7 operation, which is just says something about how hard they work to keep us operating safely. So that would be my focus on SCORE employees. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about our continued investment in healthcare. So I talked to you about our corrections, our custody accreditations. We're also accredited through the National Commission of Correctional Healthcare. That is their medical accreditation. But we will be pursuing their mental health accreditation in 2025 and opioid accreditations by 2025-26. We want to make sure that we honor this project and do it well. So I'm giving us 2 years to achieve those additional accreditations. SCORE has a contracted medical vendor. It is actually almost a quarter of SCORE's budget. We invest significantly in the healthcare at SCORE, and what do you get for that? You have 24/7 medical staff on site at the jail, which is critical. But we just recently expanded our medical doctor to be 5 days a week. We have a physician's assistant working on the weekends. We have an ARNP that is there 5 days or 4 days a week, 7 days a week mental health care or behavioral health services, 7 days a week, super critical. And then we also have a dentist that comes regularly to SCORE, weekly to SCORE. So I'll also just tell you that the people who are being booked at SCORE are very sick. That more than 60% of the people booked at SCORE have a substance use disorder or mental health condition that requires specialized care. And so SCORE has done a lot to partner with other agencies and to make sure that we have the staff and infrastructure on site to care for those folks. A big part of that, I think I will talk in our reentry slide, so I'll just reset my speech here for a second and tell you about our MOUD program. So we are a national mentor site for the Bureau of Justice Administration. We have, I think, the most comprehensive MOUD program, which is medication for opioid use disorder in Washington State in the jail system. And there are other jails who have very great programs, but we offer all forms of medication for those programs, as well as being able to start folks on those medications in the jail setting, and include some long-acting medications with that as well. As a national mentor site, we are visited regularly by jail systems all across the United States. This year and very recently, we had Santa Fe, New Mexico come visit us. We also had folks from, sociologists from Toyo University, Japan, come visit SCORE. So we continue to be a jail that stands out, not just in Washington State, but across the United States and even in other countries. And then I will tell you, and probably the reason I got asked to be here is to tell you about our exciting projects, life safety projects. So we spend a lot of money on healthcare, and really I would spend a lot more if all of that came with guarantees. Nothing comes with guarantees, but I am willing to take a chance on 2 different types of technology that are being marketed to corrections right now. One is a wearable system that will monitor vital signs, your heart rate, your skin temperature, and breathing and our oxygen levels, and will let us know via a dashboard if settings occur outside of those parameters. So we'll get an immediate alert. And we're pretty excited about this technology in particular because, like I said, a lot of people come in either under the influence or detoxing from a substance, and their medical condition can change suddenly, and sometimes even without their ability to ask for help. So this wearable tech is pretty exciting. I only know of one other jail who's just in the purchasing phase of this product. We purchased 20 units. It was just under a $100,000 investment. We are well situated to purchase more if we find this to be a successful piece of equipment. So we're going to do some piloting, and I hope that it meets all of our expectations. The obvious thing about the wearable system is you have to agree to wear it. And we certainly anticipate that some people coming into jail might not agree to wear an item on their wrist or their ankle. And so we're also investing in a passive system. So this is a system that's mounted in the ceiling. It's got FDA-approved radar that sends signals and measures macro and micro vibrations. So it will sense the rise and fall of your chest. It will sense your heart rate. And that is intended for a single occupant cell. In which case, if we were worried about somebody or concerned, we can put them in that cell and monitor them passively. And it has the same similar promises to have the same similar alerts and sensors. And that is actually in a couple of the jails in Washington State. My medical team and some custody staff went and viewed that at the Chelan County Jail a couple months ago. And we hope to have both of those systems in place by the end of the month. So we're pretty excited about that. And then I'm almost done.
You're doing a great job.
Okay.
This is fantastic information.
Good.
Thank you.
Reentry or release services. So these are 2 of our biggest projects. One I'm incredibly proud of, and I'll start with that. That's the one on the right. That's our partnership with Department of Social and Health Services. So we worked with the Department of Social and Health Services to have clinical intervention specialists at SCORE. They also have a few other positions that provide technical assistance to SCORE, but this group of folks are meant to treat and work with True Blood class members. Those are people who have had competency restoration ordered, and we have 67 of those folks in the jail today. So the same day that a competency restoration can be ordered, they're already meeting with our clinical intervention specialists. They're already getting patient education, medication education. They have the ability to participate in group therapy or individual therapy. And the whole purpose behind this program is to keep people from destabilizing in the jail setting. Mm-hmm. Jail is destabilizing for anybody who comes into the jail, but especially so for people with mental health issues. So what we're seeing, though, is that not are we just keeping people from decompensating, but we're actually seeing people who are improving. That early immediate attention, the early onboarding of medications, so much so that by the time they have their next court hearing, they're maybe able to be considered for alternative options through the court legal system. So we're incredibly proud about that. We're doing some evaluation of the program. We'll have more data and information to share about that, hopefully in early 2025. But we're also very grateful to the Department of Social and Health Services for their interest. SCORE was the very first in the state. In fact, we approached them, and we were the first in the state to bring on this program, and it is now being replicated in Spokane County because of our early successes. And then I will tell you about the Healthcare Authority's Medicaid Transformation Project. This is huge. This is essentially Medicaid waiver, which will allow us to provide Medicaid-supported services 90 days pre-release. That's virtually everybody at the SCORE jail. There will be very few exclusions to that. So we'll be able to provide Medicaid-supported services. We'll be able to bill Medicaid for those services. Part of this project right now is just capacity building, and there's $2.5 million funding to help SCORE get ready to build its capacity to provide these services. And we're doing a really good job already. So we already offer MOUD treatment. We offer a 7-day supply of medications upon release, but in order to qualify for this program, we'll have to increase that to a 30-day supply. We have an electronic health record, which is pretty rare for jails, including the state corrections system. But we have an opportunity to look at our system and have it cooperate or communicate with the state system, the system that's being put in for the state. So we're pretty excited about that. We will use a lot of this funding to invest in our IT infrastructure. So both of these programs don't come at a cost to you, the owners, neither one of them. There is zero cost to you, and all the benefit for the people who are in SCORE jail or people returning to your communities. And that's my last slide. So thank you.
Wow. I mean, I'm going to let my colleagues go second first. But I just want to say I'm going to have to report out about this. And I'm going to have the hardest time trying to be short and pick. I am so impressed with this work. So, but go ahead. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, have you any questions?
Yeah, this is really very impressive.
Yeah.
And I don't envy you because it's going to be tough to summarize.
I know.
I mean,
So
you're
good.
summarizing, and there's a lot of good stuff. I was a little curious, in terms of the mental health services, you say you have 24/7. What level of mental health professionals are there?
Master's level professionals, that's 7 days a week.
Okay. And is it an MSW or LCSW or what is?
Yes.
Okay.
MSW.
MSW, okay. And Masters in Social Work for those at home,
Yes.
yes, who might not know, but that's really great. And any trauma training or anything that's involved, because often that helps trigger a mental health crisis, you know, and there's some trauma going on, and the reaction, unfortunately, can be a mental health breakdown, and then you end up getting incarcerated.
Yeah. Yes. So our employees, especially the custody staff, they all get really great training through CJTC, and then they have the annual recertification in communication or crisis intervention training. So that's an annual training. And they also receive annual training from the on-site medical vendor about how to manage that crisis on-site and the symptoms and the things to watch for. But that's every day in a jail, and our staff are already really very practiced. It's not a rare situation that we have people in crisis for any jail, not just SCORE.
No, I understand that. The 30 days of medication that you have to release them with, what are the limitations on those medications?
Yeah, that is.
There got to be some, because
There's very few, actually. I think it would be any of the medications that we prescribe, so your regular medications plus your MOUD medications. But we're going through this attestation process right now where I'll be able to say that we can do this. And so those meetings are just happening right now. But there are very few exclusions to that. So if we prescribe it at the jail, then they should be expected to leave with it when they leave.
okay, there's some opportunity for abuse if you give somebody a lot of medications? And I mean, it sounds like you're having those meetings, but I'd be curious to know what the strategies are going to be to prevent that from
Yeah.
happening.
That is a question that came up recently, actually, and so we have a conversation scheduled with the healthcare authority to kind of understand what medications might be subject to abuse, what is the strategy around that. California Department of Corrections just went live with this on Monday, so we're going to be also watching their experience and kind of learning from other correctional facilities.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a great idea, don't get me wrong. Just was curious, because that's one thing that sort of came to my mind. I've had many clients who have been on Suboxone, or methadone even, but you wouldn't give 30 days of methadone. But, you know, there is a problem of abuse, there's a problem of voluntary and involuntary, distribution of those.
Yeah, I do believe that there will be a few exceptions where a prescription script will substitute for the actual medication. So methadone would be a prime example of that. But I don't know enough to answer that, except that those are good questions that we're also asking.
And I remember sometime in the past, and I don't remember how far back, there was a wing of SCORE that was empty. Staffing issues and just not enough demand for it. Is that still the case, or did that get contracted out? There was a discussion about what was going to happen with that space.
Yeah, and it's been a while since I've been back here, so we do not have any empty wings, and we've never had a staffing issue. But I will tell you, when the pandemic hit, we reduced our population, as did many corrections, and so did arrests slow down. And because of that, we actually had to lay off some employees. So I will say that SCORE staffing and the population are completely scalable. So as the jail becomes fuller, then there will be key positions that we'll add as a result of that. But we're operating very lean without being understaffed. So we don't have any empty wings. I think sometimes the challenge is that we have a higher demand for specialty beds. So we have very few spaces where just one person can be in a cell by themselves, but the demand for that is much higher than it ever used to be for a variety of reasons.
And who are the contractors that are contracting for space at this point?
Oh, well, I can't tell you the whole list. It is on our
How
website.
compatible are they with the city's population?
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, we have 20 plus cities who contract for beds with SCORE. Some of those are pretty large contracts. The Department of Corrections is probably our largest contract. They contract for about 100 beds. We are open to other contracts. The city of Seattle received authority to contract with us. We haven't moved forward with that because they got some new beds made available to them at their facility, which is great. But we remain open to new contracts. It is just a careful balance of, if I bring them on, I need to make sure that my staffing reflects that. And right now, I'm staffed to at least bring on another 100 folks if we wanted to, or if there was a need for it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Grace Matsui, do you have questions?
Thank you. Hi, Devin. Thank you so much for coming in today to talk with us. I'm really interested to hear more about the biometric monitoring system and see how the pilot goes. And that strikes me as an intervention, of course, a way to get help to people who are experiencing a medical emergency right then. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about prevention, whether or not there are ways that we can try and reduce the number of medical emergencies.
Yeah, I think it's a constant conversation, right? It's a balance when you have law enforcement bringing somebody to you, making sure that they meet all of the criteria to be at the jail to begin with. So it's a balance of not accepting people who are probably too medical fragile to be there, and I think we're doing a better job of that. Some of what we've done too is add our doctor to be at SCORE 5 days a week, and he's been incredible in just thinking through regular care, but also triaging emergencies. And we're also working with our local hospital on who we would send to the hospital and under what circumstances. So there's a lot of conversations around that always. We review all of our critical incidents. We review those near misses, and we're always trying to analyze what we could or should do differently. It's unfortunate that we are that we have such a fragile population, but we do an incredible job of keeping them safe with the resources that we have.
Do you have another question?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So kind of to tag on to the end of that, do you find that, you're kind of a trailblazer, it's not really down there, and with the services that you offer, so much of an array, do you find that sometimes you end up with, you have inmates that come to you because of your specialties or the services that you offer, a dentist, a medical doctor, the behavioral health services and monitoring that maybe would be booked somewhere else, but you're more suitable because of, you talked about being a fragile population. Do you find that happens?
Yes, we are definitely a jail that other jails use to support their higher need people.
So you're a little bit more vulnerable to some of the things that can happen with that fragile population than maybe another jail who isn't as suited to take people who are.
I think so, yeah. Definitely our acuity is higher just from the regular bookings that come in, but also from the higher risk individuals that come to us from other jail settings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Just checking in one more time. Any other questions?
Could I
Yeah,
add one more thing
absolutely.
to Councilmember Matsui's question? There are a few other things that we do. We use a lot of technology, so the biggest challenge and risk of any jail setting is drugs within the jail setting. And so we use a body scanner. We increase our searches. We're communicating with our other jail partners when they send us somebody or we're sending somebody to them. But also just public health. I didn't even really touch on the many, many partnerships that we have with public health, but we offer vaccine clinics. We have community providers come into the jail, numerous different types of community providers coming into the jail, meeting with people before they're released. So we really are trying to meet that acuity level and with multiple different approaches. But definitely safety and security custody searches is a big component of that. And I'm sorry that wasn't on the top of my tongue when you asked.
Thank you. Thank you. Any follow-up question after that, Councilmember Grace Matsui?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Devin. Appreciate your work and your leadership down there. Like I said to you privately, but I hear about her a lot at regional tables and what a good job she's doing down at SCORE. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So that's the end of our agenda tonight. And so do I have an motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Deputy Mayor, so moved. A second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.